Good morning, monkeys. Well, it's good afternoon for you. It's still good morning for me. I hope you're having an awesome weekend and you've been outside playing all day and being ragamuffins. So I thought we'll do another chapter today. This is going to be chapter 11 and it's called More and More Surprises. So, if you remember, Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Moonface and Beth and Franny had gone up to the snowland at the top to try and rescue Joe. Then there'd been a massive snowstorm like there was here in England last week, and it's still like quite snowy outside actually. And Joe had managed to kind of run away while the bears and the giant snowman were fighting with Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Moonface. So let's find out what happened next. So this chapter is chapter 11, More and More Surprises. There doesn't seem to be anyone here, said Beth, cautiously looking around. Well, who lighted the candle? Asked Moonface, his big round face looking anxious. We didn't leave it burning. Suddenly, the father bear gave an angry growl and pointed to his chair. Who's been sitting in my chair? He said. And who's been sitting in my chair? Said Mother Bear, pointing to hers. And who's been sitting in my chair? It's all broken to bits, squeaked Baby Bear, crying his eyes out. Beth giggled. This sounds like the story of the three bears coming true. She said to Franny, they'll talk about porridge next. And they did. Who's been eating my porridge? Said Father Bear angrily. And who's been eating my porridge? Said Mother Bear. And who's been eating mine and gobbled it all up? Wept Baby Bear, scraping his spoon around the empty plate. It's all very mysterious, said Moonface. Somebody lighted the candle. Somebody sat in the chairs. Somebody ate the porridge. But who was it? Not me this time, said Goldilocks. I was with you all the time when we were snowballing, wasn't I, Bears? You certainly were, growled Father Bear softly, patting the little girl on the back. He was very fond of her. I wish we had found poor Joe. Whatever will he be doing in that horrid cold land? Do you suppose we ought to go out and look for him again? Said Franny, shivering at the thought of the ice-cold wind outside. No, said Moonface. No one's going out of this cottage again until we're safely in the wood at home. I'm afraid we can't possibly rescue Joe now. What's that noise? Goldilocks said suddenly. Everyone stilled and quieted. Someone was snoring softly in the next room. We never thought of looking there, said Moonface. Who can it be? Shh, said Goldilocks. If we can catch him asleep, we can hold him tight and he won't be able to get away. But if he wakes up, he might be fierce. They tiptoed to the door of the bedroom and one by one they squeezed through. Who's been lying on my bed? Said Father Bear in a growly voice. Shh, said Moonface crossly. Who's been lying in my bed? Said Mother Bear. Shh, said everybody. And who's been lying on my bed and is fast asleep still there? Said the Baby Bear. Everyone stared at the cot. Yes, there was someone there, someone covered in white. Was it a polar bear? It's a white bear, said Moonface, half frightened. Let's lock him in before he wakes, said Father Bear. He might still think we're the enemies. They all rushed out of the little room and slammed the door shut with a loud bang, locking it behind them. He's caught, Moonface said joyfully. Joe woke up with a jump. Who had locked him in? Had the snowman caught him again? He began to shout and bang on the door. And then Beth and Franny recognised the voice and yelled loudly, Moonface, it's Joe, it's Joe, it's Joe. They rushed to the door, unlocking it, and flung their arms around Joe. The boy was too astonished to speak, and he hugged his sisters tightly. How did you get here? He asked. How did you get here? Cried Beth and Franny. Come into the kitchen and we'll have some hot porridge and milk, said Goldilocks. We can talk then and get warm. So Joe went with the others, all chattering loudly about everything. Goldilocks ladled out porridge into blue bowls and made some hot chocolate. Soon everyone was putting sugar on porridge and drinking the hot chocolate. Joe poured some milk over his porridge and smiled joyfully at everybody. What an adventure this has been. Shall I tell my tale first, or will you tell yours? He told his, and then Beth told how Moonface had gone to the Three Bears for their help, and all about the fierce snowball fight battle. It's a pity about the battle, said Father Bear mournfully. The white bears are cousins of ours, and we've always been friendly. Now they seem to be enemies. Well, let's hope they don't discover our cottage, said Goldilocks, eating her porridge. Moonface, hadn't we better make some magic and get back to the wood? Plenty of time, said Moonface, pouring himself another cup of hot chocolate. But you know there wasn't plenty of time, for just at that moment Goldilocks gave a scream and pointed towards the window. Someone looked in, she said. Don't be silly, said Moonface. I'm not, said Goldilocks. I tell you, someone looked in. Who could it be? The handle of the door is moving, yelled Moonface, and he leapt to the door. In a flash he had locked it and bolted it. Father Bear got up and went to the window. He looked out into the snowstorm. I can't see anything, he said. And then he growled loudly, Yes, I can. I can see the white bears. They've surrounded our cottage. Now what will we do? Well, they can't get in at the door, and they certainly can't get in at the window, said Moonface, looking fierce. The door shook, but it held well. Somebody battered on it. We shan't let you in, yelled Joe. If anyone tries to open the window or break it, I'll throw this kettle at him, shouted Moonface, who was dancing around waving the kettle in the air. Moonface, that kettle has got hot water in it, said Franny. Do be careful, you nearly dropped some on me. I'll drop it onto any bear that dares come in here, yelled Moonface, splattering the room with steaming drops. Oh dear, said Beth. Hide behind the bed, Franny. It seems to me that Moonface is almost as dangerous as the bears. Moonface soon realised that they were right, and that waving a hot kettle around was a foolish and dangerous thing to do, so he put it down again gently. Then the Father Bear had an idea. He dragged the big table across the room to block the door. Things were getting exciting. Joe and the girls were frightened, but they couldn't help feeling terribly thrilled too. Whatever's going to happen next? The big bears were grunting and growling outside, but they couldn't get in at the door or the window. They did find another way, though. The chimney was wide and big for a fireplace. Was one of those large old-fashioned kind, and needed a wide chimney. One of the bears climbed up on the roof, followed by 3 more. The first one slipped down into the big chimney. Down he went with a whoosh. Down went another, and a third, and a fourth. They landed with a crash on the big hearth and hurriedly jumped away from the flames of the fire. Surrender, they cried to the startled children and bears. Surrender, the magic snowman is outside. Let him in. It's all getting a bit exciting now, isn't it? And that, my darlings, is the end of the chapter. So, that was a nice one, wasn't it? You have to wonder what's going on with the white bears, because they were cousins of the brown bears and Goldilocks. So why have they suddenly turned into bad guys? I'm sure we'll find out. But that's the end of the chapter. Hope you guys are being awesome. And I love you loads, and I miss you loads and loads and loads. And I will speak to you soon. Bye. Love you.